Oh, hey, little guy. I'm outside with the pups. I am almost ready to go to locals tonight. My Dragonlink cards haven't come in the mail yet, so, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully they get here before regionals. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to try to bring back an oldie goldie. I'm going to try to get Burning Abyss up and running again. This is Trap BA. Hopefully the trap cards will carry me past a turn 1 Scythe Lock. That's probably my biggest fear for the deck, just because like it's so extra deck reliant. So trap cards are good. Hand traps, you know, Nibiru and Ghost Ogre are pretty high impact, but I didn't want them in my deck because I'm running Orbital Hydrolander, which I think is just a really cool card and a really good top deck. And you know, it's back to 2019 Yu-Gi-Oh! With Fairy Tale Snow and Hydrolander, so that's a lot of fun. I don't think a lot of people will be expecting it, but we'll see. I'll check in with you after I get to locals. Hello, Milo.
Is Casey nice at 11 quality?
I hope so. Like, the hard thing is just getting it all in focus. Alright, wanted to give a round 2 update. So the benefit to losing with 20 minutes left on the clock is that I get to do these. So round 1, it was Despia against Jerry, and we had some really good back and forth, but ultimately I drew the outs. I think game 2 I drew Super Polymerization, and I took most of his board away, made Draco's Stapelia, and then I milled a dimensional barrier off of Absolute King Backjack, and that was too hard to get over. And then round 2 I played Alex, and he had Fluunderies, and that was my first time playing the deck in real life. And he did Fluunder things. He summoned Barrier Statue turn 1, and I tried to summon Snow and flip it over, and then he summoned Rise of the Mega Monarch on my turn and put it back on top of my deck. And then I scooped that. Game 2, I thought I was being cheeky by siding in Zombie World and Necro World Banshee to prevent him from playing. And guess what I didn't see that turn? Monsters. I didn't see monsters, and it didn't help that he had D-Shifter. So I got the Torrential Tribute him, and that was kind of cool, but yeah, Fluunder, it's an anti-meta deck that's also just really good against Burning Abyss and trap cards. So, alright, so that's my round 2 update. I'm going to come back after round 3. Alright, I just got done playing against Mayakashi, which I thought was really fun because my wife really likes the Mayakashi archetype. She likes the artwork. Mayakashis and Shiranuis. But this game was really fun. Fiend Griefing came in really clutch because I was able to shuffle away his Mizuki and his level 9. That just meant he couldn't float down from anything in his graveyard. So that was a fun interaction. So Fiend Griefing and Paleozoic Dynamiscus really came in clutch. There was this really interesting Floodgate that he played. And the band played on, which says if you control a monster, you cannot special summon monsters with that same level. So my opening hand was 2 Burning Abyss names and Fiendish Rhino Warrior, so I couldn't make my normal Dante Beatrice play because of that card, and I couldn't out it that turn either, so I just summoned the Rhino Warrior, set 2 past, and trap cards are good. Playing on your opponent's turn is really good. That's the goal of the deck, is to just always be playing high impact cards no matter what turn it is. So, alright, that's round 3 in the books, so we're 2-1, so we have a chance to top still. Hello! 8 hours later, we're here to do a deck profile of the deck that I played at Locals yesterday. Well, I guess technically yesterday because it's Friday now and Locals was Thursday, so to the viewer, time doesn't matter. You're just watching this on a single timeline left to right. I ended up getting, I guess technically top 4. It's hard to say because there were only 3 rounds. Normally there's 4, but we had an undefeated person after round 3, so we called it there. Topping with Burning Abyss 2022 feels good. Dante's still a good card. So starting off, we've got Triple Fiendish Rhino Warrior. This is the best normal summon in the deck. It does so much for your deck. Protects your Burning Abyss monsters from blowing themselves up. protects all your other Fiend monsters too. So if you didn't notice, the Nightmare cards, the Link monsters, they're all Fiends. Underworld Goddess is a Fiend. There's just a lot of synergies that, honestly, they don't really come up, but when they do, it's pretty clutch. So Rhino Warrior is good. It's also a buffer card to send off of Fiend Griefing to get more cards in your graveyard for Fairy Tale Snow, but we'll get into her later. Second best card in the deck, Torghast of the Underworld. I don't normally want to summon this first turn if I can avoid it, just because it's hand trap bait. You know, if this gets ashed or veilered or impermed or whatever, you're kind of done for that turn, because you can't special summon Burning Abyss monsters from your hand. They'll just instantly blow up. So you'll just be stuck on the field with this guy. So 2's a fine number right now. Normally you want to search for it with Skarm during your end phase, so you have it for turn 2 as a follow-up. This is a really strong follow-up, and I think that's where it excels at in this current format. More 2-ofs. I'm just going to go through the Burning Abyss names. Graph, Seer, Skarm, and Farfa. So these are the Burning Abyss monsters that I played 2 of. So you want to have, I think there's like 20 monsters in the main deck, and most of them can be special summoned from the hand. Skarm is really good for setting up your follow-up plays, and this is, I think Burning Abyss needs to be played as a grind deck in 2022. Like every other deck just like outclasses it in terms of speed and OTK potential. You know, this isn't 2019 where we have Sekka's Light at 3. We can't really make those pushes as easily anymore. So, but being able to float into basically anything is what this deck excels at, and with Dante it just makes it a lot easier. And then Farfa at 2 I really like because it's spot removal. You know, just blinking stuff out just to get some damage in or go for game, like that's all you needed to do. And yeah, you don't want to run most of these at 3 because they get cloggy, and honestly you get limited by their hard once per turn effects. Like once you activate the effect, the card is basically dead to you, it's just filler. And that's kind of the problem with the archetype going forward. But those are the 2-ofs. The last 4 are names. Alec honestly doesn't come up very much, but I'll let you know when it does. Barbar is really good for time, and I think he's got the highest attack stat of any of the Burning Abyss monsters, so that 1700 could come in clutch sometimes. Calcab and Libic, I think Calcab is kind of slept on. Just getting a free bounce, it's good. It clears the field up, forces negates. I think Calcab is really nice, and Libic is also really good. You have to have a Burning Abyss card in your hand to activate it, but just getting that special summon and having its effect negated so it doesn't blow up just opens up the door for a lot of Link plays. But I think these are correct. I would like to experiment with the Halka Fibrex engine, the Needle Fiber engine in the future with Rubik. I think that could be kind of fun. But for Trap BA, this is all you need. Double Absolute King Backjack. Playing this at 1 is probably better, but I like it at 2 a lot. It's really good discard fodder. Milling it off Dante is kind of iffy if you have to go into your deck again. But setting this to your graveyard during your opponent's turn with Fiend Griefing, there's nothing better, because half your deck is traps. You're probably going to be able to stack one on top and mill it, and it pluses for days. So Absolute King Backjack is a good card. Really like it. Fairy Tale Snow, I don't know why this came off the ban list, but, well, actually I do. It's okay. Like, honestly, it's a lot of work to get cards in your graveyard. I don't think you'll resolve it more than twice per game, and that's probably enough. It's not like That Grass Looks Greener is around anymore, but, yep, this is still a good card. This, I was able to special summon this in Battle Step once and push for game. So that was really good. And then I wouldn't call this spice. This is an oldie goldie Orbital Hydrolander. Fairy Tale Snow makes this card possible. These should honestly never be. Well, you should never run Orbital without Snow, unless your deck is all 1-ofs. But Hydrolander's awesome. If you don't know what Hydrolander does, you need to have at least 5 monsters in your graveyard with all different names. None of them can be the same. If that's the case, you could special summon this from your hand, and then once per turn quick effect, you can non-targeting destroy any card on the field by milling the top 3 cards of your deck, and then if you still don't have 2 monsters with the same name, then you go off. Like, this card is, it's kind of incredible that it's only been printed as a common. Like, it is definitely worthy of a secret rare status. And I hope it gets a higher rarity bump in the future, but, you know, I guess we gotta get more representation for that to happen. So we got 2 spell cards, only 2, the only 2 that are needed, Foolish Burial and Called by the Grave. Honestly, I kind of thought Foolish Burial was a little lackluster. I kind of wish this was another trap or interaction on my opponent's turn. Because, like, you can send Fairy Tale Snow, and, like, that's good. But if you don't have the cards in your graveyard, it doesn't really do much. It's probably more likely going to be used as a combo starter with Rhino Warrior, but I don't know. I think it's better if this was like a trap card. In Call by the Grave, this came up once during the Flew Under match. He tried to recycle his Dimension Shifter back to his hand, and I Called by the Grave did because, of course, I drew Called by the Grave after he used Dimension Shifter, so that's Yu-Gi-Oh! But these are both really good cards. I'm iffy on Foolish Burial. Call by the Grave I think is almost essential, especially with D-Shifters running around. Alright. Triple Fiend Griefing. This card put in a lot of work today. This was my favorite trap card. Being able to not just banish, but shuffle cards back into your opponent's graveyard, or into their deck, and get a free mill from your deck. It just sets you up for so many future plays. Like, this deck is a grind deck. If you can survive past turn 1 and maybe turn 2, then you are, you know, you're streets ahead in terms of card advantage and plays. That was my theory going into this. If a lot of the meta decks right now are running a lot of bricks and stuff, and you know they're really explosive and dynamic on the first turn, but they lose steam after. If you could survive past that, and then break their board apart, then that's your opening to win. So Fiend Griefing is really good, really helps with that. It detracts from their game state, it adds to yours, and it's not a once per turn. The other really good 3 of Dynamiscus. You don't discard as cost, so that's kind of good. And it summons itself as a monster. I don't know what more needs to be said. It's solid. We all know what it does. Alright, Torrential Tribute. I think Torrential Tribute is really powerful. The only downside is it's not exactly chainable. So, you know, you really have to think about how many more summons they're going to do, because you want to maximize how many monsters you destroy off of this, because it's so easy to, you know, follow up. You know, so many decks can play through Nibiru. They could probably play through Torrential as well. I timed this really well against a Flunder matchup. He used Empen to summon a Barrier Statue. And that Barrier Statue game 1 just wrecked me. I couldn't summon anything, and I had a hand that was primed to play, but I couldn't. So I wanted to make sure that I Torrential the Barrier Statue. And that ended up saving me for a turn, but just a turn, because I was still under D-Shifter, and I top decked into a trap card that he then put on top of my deck with Ryza. So Flew Under is a really hard matchup, and we'll get into that in the side deck. 2 of Traps. Lost Wind is really good. I was able to activate this in the damage step to have an opponent's monsters attack, and that felt really nice. Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. You know, more spot removal. I think spinning is an underrated mechanic. Just the real power of this card is being able to deny your opponent their next draw phase, because they're not getting that wild card, they're getting something they already know, which could be good, could be bad, but you know, in this format there's a lot of continuous spell cards, and especially the Plunder Field Spell, because they discard for cost. You can send this back to the top of their deck and then it doesn't resolve. Same goes for Dynamiscus, but this gets you a little extra value because you also deny them their top deck. And then Double Trap Trick. This is basically any normal trap in the game. I'm kind of spotty on Trap Trick just because, like, it is really good, but you have to time it, and you kind of lose the appeal of trap cards. Like, trap cards are good because your opponent doesn't know what your set 5 back row is, and once you activate Trap Trick, not only are you locked into just activating one more trap for the turn, but they know what you set. So, I don't know. It's okay. It never really came up, so I guess I haven't really experienced its full power. But You know, in theory, it's good. You know, a lot of this is theory because we don't see everything in the deck. Okay, extra deck. The Burning Abyss package, double Dante, Beatrice, Cherubini, Purple Dante. I actually was able to summon Purple Dante once, and that was really fun because Purple Dante is just a monster of a card. But double Dante and Beatrice, you know, Beatrice is the star of the deck. Just being able to Foolish Burial anything, even during your opponent's turn, is just so rewarding. Being able to dump snow. I played this in Virtual Worlds, and you can dump a spell or a trap. It's really versatile. It's a good card. Cherubini, I'm actually not too sure about Cherubini. 9 times out of 10, I'd rather make Dante than this. Like this, I think in Phantom Knights, they use this card better. In 3-axis, you're sending the Brave monster to the graveyard. They work with this better than Burning Abyss. I think its highest value in Burning Abyss is that you can special summon it back with Seer, and then you have a link to that you can make Boral Sword or Axis Code a lot easier with. But it's okay. Like, we don't run enough non-BA monsters to really make use of its arrow effect. But yeah, we're running it just because it's a name, and it's got some niche applications. Nightmare cards, I think, are some of the best cards in the game. They're versatile, they're generic. You can use tokens or Dynamiscus trap cards as material. An IP Masquerena, you know, if you're not ending on an IP Masquerena and Beatrice, then something kind of went wrong, which was most of my games today. Honestly, if it weren't for the trap cards, I don't think I'd have topped. But yeah, IP's good. It's probably the bigger hand trap bait than Beatrice, honestly. Most people will infinite impermanence the IP before they infinite impermanence the Beatrice. But I think it's probably correct, because getting Nightmare Phoenix, I think, hurts more than getting Fairy Tale Snowed. Okay. Zeus package. I was able to score this Downward Magician just before the event, so that was good. Zeus came up once, and I mean, it's Zeus. I don't know if there's much more to be said about it. The big Link monsters. I never made Borals. Actually, I don't think I made any of these two. I did make Underworld Goddess, and that was kind of nice because it's an extra deck version of a Kaiju. And I got to use its effect to negate a special summon from the graveyard. So Underworld Goddess put some work. I think it's a really underrated card. And then more toolboxy stuff. This card, I didn't play against DPE today. If I did, then this would have been a lot more useful. But this is still a very good card. And then Trisbana for back row decks, Eldlik, that sort of thing. Never came up. I ended up citing this out a lot for another card in my side deck, but Trisbana is really good. Alright, side deck. The cards that I wish I saw more often. So, this was kind of my spice. I'm trying to take advantage of what Beatrice offers with that Foolish Burial during your opponent's turn. So, Token Collector, and it's also a Fiend, so it synergizes really well with Fiend Griefing. Like, if this card is in your graveyard, then like the Brave token plays, they just can't happen, because as soon as they summon the Token Collector comes out on the field. And you could also, there's a, I don't want to say it's a niche interaction, but there is this interaction where if you make your play and on your 5th summon, you normal summon Token Collector, if you haven't already normal summoned. If you normal summon Token, then you can't get Nibiru, because Token Collector prevents the summon of a token monster, and Nibiru summons itself with a token, so that's a cool interaction if you didn't know that. But Necroworld Banshee and Zombie World, this is what I was most excited about, but unfortunately didn't get to play with. You can send Necroworld Banshee to your graveyard with Foolish Burial or Beatrice, banish it, and then activate Zombie World from your deck, which, you know, this just cold stops Fluunder. It stops a lot of decks that you wouldn't think about, like dragons. They need dragons to make their Link monsters, and if they're zombies, they're not dragons. They need Salamangreat and Rogue. Zombie World does really well with, because you need Cyberse monsters to make Balinks. So Zombie World just, it's a weird card to interact with, and yeah, that's the main selling point of the deck. I think the better version of Burning Abyss might actually be like a 60 card version where these cards are main decked, so it's more toolbox. And then once you get a feel for what your opponent's playing, like, you can send them as you go. And 60 cards, hopefully you don't draw into them too much, but I don't think they're bad, even if you do draw them, because you're running so many discard traps. And 60 cards, I think you might run more karma cuts, just to get stuff out of your hand. Alright, what else? Triple Dimensional Barrier. I milled this card once off of Absolute King Backjack during my Despia matchup, and I've never felt more safe because you just chain it to Branded in Red and call Fusion. And it's like, well, I guess I'm not Fusion summoning anymore. That's my turn. So yeah, D-Barrier is really good. Honestly, probably worth the main deck spot because of all the Synchro Fusion shenanigans. I should have organized these a little better. Cosmic Cyclone, it stops, honestly, it stops a lot of stuff. Flew Under, it stops, you know, getting rid of the map. It gets rid of Scythe before DPE could pop it. It's a really versatile card. I think Twin Twister is better suited for the deck, but I think Cosmic Cyclone is more utilitarian at the moment, which is unfortunate, but we'll get our twins back. Alright. Double Lava Golem. I wish this came up. It didn't, but Lava Golem is good. You don't necessarily need your normal summon if you've got more Burning Abyss monsters in your hand or trap cards, because, again, the theory with this deck is you want to play on your opponent's turn as much as you can by interacting with them with your trap cards, which are harder to predict. They have their own issues as well, but yeah, just surviving is the goal, and then outgrinding. And then you saw the last couple cards, Super Poly and Predaplant Dragostapelia. I was trying to get a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, but the shop didn't have them. But this card is really good as well. I think it's almost better. Just because any fusion monster plus a dark monster, and all you're running is, like, most of your deck is dark monsters. So this means you could use a Makaba, or the Despia player had a bunch of dual avatar cards in their deck as a side engine, so I was able to use one of their dual avatar cards and their Despia monster to make this guy. And Dragostapelia, he just puts in work. He negates effects, but he could do it once per turn. And they stay negated as long as this guy's on the field because of the Predaplant counter mechanic. Yeah, Super Poly is great. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Burning Abyss deck profile. I think this deck is really fun. I think it will probably excel in like a Heart of the Underdog environment. I don't think you can really keep up with the big decks of 2022, especially not after Branded comes out, because Super Poly is just, you know, it's going to clear your board. It's going to clear your IP, your Beatrice, and it won't even activate the Beatrice, which is the sad thing. So take that for what you will. I think this is a really fun deck regardless. You know, Dante 2022 still strong. I'm going to work on a better way to end these videos, but until then, I'll see you next time.